Hello quality people and welcome to the quality broadcast. We don't believe in self-improvement. We believe in Christ improvement. Our aim is to encourage you daily to pursue a more Christ-like version of yourself by providing you with practical advice and biblical breakdowns. We will be live momentarily. Until then, tell us where you're tuning in from.
Quality is more than just a YouTube channel. It's a press towards the mark. Not the mark of the beast. More like gospel mark. More like marked by God. We move mountains by living a lifestyle called on by the Father, exemplified by Jesus.
Our job as believers is to traverse this mountain up towards Jesus, and as we traverse it, we get a clear image of who He is. We can pick up our cross and follow Him and die to our flesh every day to become better.
I've enjoyed chasing after God, and I've enjoyed getting to know Him, and I still do. And I still don't know everything He's going to do in my life. I do know that He is God, and at the end of the day, it will stem from there.
Hello quality people, my name is Prince Avoda, and welcome to Profitable Conversations. Remember to like and share so we can have advanced dialogue around these important issues. I will see you later. Enjoy the episode.
Quality.
Oh, okay. What is up, quality people? We are back. This is a profitable conversation. I guess you already saw a sneak peek of our guests. We got Miss Natalie Harris. That was the wrong button. In the building.
Hey, y'all.
Make sure that y'all like for the algorithm, like Miss Kenya Mack already put in the chat. So, Natalie, how are you doing today?
Joshua Prophet. I'm doing amazing.
Awesome.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh.
This is exciting. I'm
No,
kind of
it is
nervous
a pleasure.
little bit, not gonna lie.
Hey, once you get into talking and everything,
Yeah.
everything will be smooth and fine. And then it's just like a conversation, because that's what we literally have on the show. Just a profitable, fruitful conversation. We got our tea.
Yes, we do.
Now,
Okay.
Natalie and I were kind of discussing like a good idea that we could potentially do, that I've kind of had in the past. And if you don't know, Natalie is basically my god sister.
Yes,
And
yes,
we've known each other since we were like 7 or 8, somewhere around there.
Yeah, honestly, because
Yeah.
I moved to the house in 06, but we kind of low-key met like before I moved. To the
Yeah,
house
it was weird
at
because
that camp.
we met at the I think it was YMCA camp.
I think so at that church. No, it was at that church.
Oh, at the church. Yeah, there was like a church camp, and we were kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like we kind of knew each other. I knew because you hung out with Ari, and I knew
Yes.
Ari from school, and we went to another church camp the year prior. So I was really cool with Ari, and then so I kind of knew you, and then one day I was out in my front yard, throwing the football, and then I was like, y'all were checking out the house because y'all were thinking about buying it. I was like, whoa, I know that girl from
Your
camp.
mom popped up
It
to the
was
garage.
crazy.
We hadn't even bought the house yet. Like, we were just looking. And your mom popped up to the garage like, hey!
Yeah. I think she was just really excited that there was going to be more black people.
That's really what it was.
Shout out to Michael. He says,
Literally.
Kenya looks different today. Well, that's because this isn't Kenya.
Yeah, I'm
This
not
is
Kenya.
Natalie.
I'm Natalie.
He's funny. That's one of my cousins.
Nice to meet you.
Hopefully I get to see you next week, Michael. I believe you're coming into town, so hopefully we get to hook up. He said, hey, sup fam? What's up, my man? And he also said happy holidays and Merry Christmas. Hope you had a Merry Christmas, man, and I hope it's a wonderful,
What did you get for Christmas?
What did I get for Christmas? That's a loaded, oh, it's not really loaded. It's pretty straightforward.
How about that?
But my dad really surprised me. He got me a shirt, which is like, oh, a shirt, that's cool. But then he got me a drone. So yeah, like a drone
cool.
for filmmaking and everything, which is really cool because I had a drone that actually my mom bought me for Christmas probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I was using that for a couple years, and then I was filming a wedding, and it just freaked out, and it was supposed to be this like beautiful shot because the couple was on like this dock and I was gonna get them like turning around and showing off the
like
love
that nice angle
over the water. And when I was trying to put it up into the air, it just freaked out and it just right into the water. Yeah. And so it was toast. I was able to recover, the footage.
The footage at least.
Because the memory card was like, kind of concealed, but the actual
drone itself
was just it was fried.
That's
and
awesome.
So,
that you're a drone. Like,
yeah.
You can make some amazing footage with a drone.
Oh yeah, it really like now it could be overused, but when you use it correctly, as like it really sets off.
How often do you do weddings?
I've only done one.
It was the only one you did?
That's the only one I've done.
You should do it more. There's a lot of money.
There's a lot of money. Well, the only issue with doing weddings is, I mean, and it would be fun, is the way I would want to do weddings.
Yeah.
I can't necessarily do it solo. So like that wedding, I had to.
I use a group, as a team.
I use my mom. Now I could hire out somebody like another filmmaker who's like, oh, like you can come and help me film this wedding. That happens all the time. Yeah. But then I would have to raise my prices. To accommodate, to make sure that I'm getting compensated as well as them. So that kind of throws in, a curveball. But I really would just want to build out my own team. And now that I'm traveling with Trent and the documentary stuff, I do want to do some other projects on the side. And the other thing was I didn't necessarily have the gear that I wanted to shoot weddings the way I wanted, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so like I could obviously come and throw together a nice video for you, but it wouldn't be a Josh Prophet video the way he would want it. So, I mean, now I think I would be comfortable with like, okay, I can take, or hire somebody out and be like, yeah, come on. This is the way we're going to do it. And I just have more creative ideas when it comes to wedding. Because the thing about a wedding is you don't get like multiple takes. No. It's like you got to capture it. You got to make that shot. You got to make sure the audio and the shots are together, or else you can't use the footage at all.
Well, that being said, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm about to put you on the spot. You being a videographer, photographer, et cetera, and you now being engaged to the lovely Kenya, what are you going to do? Who are you going to be selecting for your photography and for your videography, knowing how particular and how skillful you are, and your eyes for things like right.
So this is something I've thought about for a while. So the guy that I met at the wedding that I filmed at, ironically enough, it's Moye Photography. I met him and his team, and they did a phenomenal job. Okay. They had a crew out there, and I believe they do videos too. So he's definitely somebody that I'm going to, look into as far as photos, especially. Mm-hmm. Now the video side of things, I do have an interesting idea. So there's another creator. Her name was Sarah Dici, who got married a couple months ago. Yeah. And what she did was she hired people just to film the wedding. And then because she's so creative and already like an editor and edits her own YouTube videos, they just gave her the footage and she edited her own video.
That's actually kind of fun.
So that's kind of something,
different angles from different people and different perspectives and different. That's actually kind of cool.
And so, of course, you can't film your own wedding, but you can still create your own wedding video the way that you would want. You would want it to be portrayed. So.
I would do both. I would still do that idea. I would also have a professional videographer.
But
I would still do that idea and have people also kind of capture themselves too, within it. It's like a whole collage, the whole experience of that day.
Yeah, Kenya showed me a wedding video from another creator that she watches, and they had this old style camcorder that they were just passing around to all their friends, and and that was laced in the video, and it was cool because it was how we have the wide screens now. It was like that, the more boxy aspect ratio, and they made it look more old timey with the film grain and everything. So it was really cool when they mixed in those shots, because it was almost when you look at that 20 years from now, it's going to make it even more nostalgic, I believe. So, But so that's kind of the direction that I'm headed in as far as thinking about, how photography and videography are going to work. Because it's something I've really, really had to think about, because, it's you can't film your own wedding, can't take your own pictures as well. So, But we did just have, some pictures taken by Courtney. What was that, last week?
Are they already out?
We just got them back like a couple of days ago, so I don't I don't think Kenya's posted anything, and I haven't posted anything. But she also helped us get a couple clips for the music video to the song that I wrote for Kenya. So that'll be out. The song and the music video will be out on Friday officially, even though we kind of showed it last week. So, oh yeah. So my plan for 2024 is to, of course, get this down consistently, which we have a good system now where we're able to, put out content on a consistent basis without essentially spending an exorbitant amount of time.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will think, you look at this production and this took forever to edit and chop up and to produce, and it did to get to this point.
Yeah.
But since you've
gone through your hurdles.
Yeah, since we've invested in, streamlining the process so that everything's kind of easy. We just come in here. I mean, the most time-consuming thing is making sure everything's set up and the camera angles are set the way we want them. And then after that, I produce the show. We might have to cut some things here and there, but then other than that, we just clip up our videos into, these smaller videos, or the segments into smaller videos.
Short
exactly.
And stuff like that. That's where everything, everything is in short form. People want that, longer content. You have to captivate them the whole entire time.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that's a good thing,
It's not. It fuels the ADHD that we already have.
Right. It's kind of like y'all can't pay attention to anything already. So, yeah, but that's crazy. So, what are you looking forward to 2024 here?
Oof. The crazy thing is, since being on break and not doing anything, I don't think I've even fully sat down and assessed. So you about to get in real time my thoughts.
Okay, here we go.
Because I haven't even.
We can just talk it through then.
Yeah, let's talk it through. So 2024 will start my third semester of AA school. Which is crazy to think that we already had 2 semesters down. That's crazy to think that time has gone by that fast. So third semester AA school, I start my clinical rotation, and I'm in Tampa. I don't know if people know that, but I'm down in Tampa, and so first things first, I want to continue remaining consistent relationship with God. I did really good. Since moving to Tampa, I found a church home that I was been attending consistently. It wasn't 7-day Adventist. It was not non-denominational, but for me, it didn't really matter. I just wanted to make sure I was getting that word in, and so just remain consistent with that and stay on top of that and my word and just remain close to Him. That's first and foremost, because He got me through the past 2 semesters, hands down, without relying on God and just seeking Him for peace. I don't know if my last semester would even have gone the way it went.
You even got through to this point.
I don't even, So that's first things first. Second is I want to really get better at handling my anxiety and my stress levels.
Okay.
Things are going to be hard. I know that. And, I can work hard. I can grind it out. But, the going through that process, the level of anxiety and stress that I'm at, it takes a toll on my body, on my mental. And it's I want to get better at navigating my schoolwork and my personal life and not just being as stressed out. That for me. So just, which to do that means going to the gym consistently, it's just kind of hard.
Yeah, moving is a big thing.
Moving's a big thing. It was hard to do that last semester when I had 9 classes. So I couldn't work out like I wanted to.
Yeah, you were just studying.
I was just studying and drinking caffeine and then crying whenever, So
wow, okay.
that was like a rotation, wake up, sleep, study, cry, caffeine, repeat, you know? And so focusing on that, and there's going to be a lot of stressors that come with working, being in clinical rotations and being, the field of anesthesia is very, very complicated, and the second you think you have a hold or hang on things, it's that's when you realize anesthesia does not make sense. It makes sense to an extent, but then you're just there's those moments where exactly, anesthesia does not make sense. And so just being confident in what I do know when I go to those rotations and keeping that mindset of I'm going to make mistakes and okay. I'm going to make, hey y'all, Evie has made a.
Yep, that is not Sonic. That is
not Sonic.
Natalie's little kitten,
I
Evie.
brought my kitten Evie, and she's been a big help. She's
just helping you.
She's like my emotional support animal.
There you go.
And she has been great. I don't want her to mess with your stuff.
Yeah, she's trying to.
She's going for
get
it.
at the cord.
And she's no, Evie, stop it. Okay. What was I at?
Oh, you were just talking about school.
Oh, clinicals, yeah. So with clinicals, just knowing that like I'm gonna make mistakes and take those mistakes that I make and like truly learn from them. Like, don't take anything to heart. Like, at the end of the day, the people, my mentors or, my teachers, like, they want me to be the best that I can be because someone's life is literally in my hands.
Right.
So don't take anything that someone says personal. It's so that you can be better, so that someone
Absolutely.
doesn't like literally die. So
Yeah, because if you kind of shy away from your mistakes, then you're not allowing people to help you when help is needed.
Yeah.
And then when you are in a very critical situation and you make that mistake, well, then it's kind of too late to make that correction.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so just making sure I remain open to the constructive criticism, making sure I stay on top of my studies and know and come in prepared every day for my clinicals. Like, I know everyone around me, they're thinking about their 2024 year and they're making all these like big goals and plans. That's amazing. But when you're in school, your goal and plan is just to make it through the semester.
Yeah, make it through the next day.
Make it through the next day of the semester. So mine is just like going in and continuously working on like that imposter syndrome that I have, remaining confident in what I do know, not beating myself up because I am my own worst critic. Like, I will drill myself a new one, literally.
Right.
And so just finding peace and more ways to seek more ways of self-soothing to make it through. Like, absolutely, I rely on God, but with that as well, I have to always also find my own ways to like self-cope and self-soothe myself, like get through those hard moments. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
yeah, God is gonna keep you centered spiritually, but then you also have a responsibility to put yourself in a good position emotionally and physically as well, which means like, hey, you need to understand, like, you can't just eat junk food too, because that's going to mess with how your body is going to feel, which can affect you emotionally. So you got to take the wisdom and all the things that are good on earth and nutritious for us, and that needs to aid along with your spiritual connection with God.
yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that was all over the place, but like,
no, that was
I
good.
haven't even thought through 2024 yet. Like, that's why I'm contemplating going home early
or going back to school.
Going back to school early because I really need to sit down like with my planner and just kind of think out like my school schedule, what I need to do, what I need to like look at. Like, since I've been home, I've been a bum and it's been the best.
But you did need this period of rest.
Yeah.
Where you've gone through the 6 days, and then now this is a kind of like your moment, your day of rest, where you can recuperate and get ready for another 6 days of
semester,
work, essentially, to use a biblical metaphor.
Yeah.
But yeah, something that one of my high school baseball coach used to say was, you can't control everything, so you need to control what you can control. But the two things you can absolutely always control are your attitude and your effort.
Yes.
And so even when you make a mistake, it's not that the end of the world that you made a mistake, but how you proceed forward after you make a mistake matters, because a lot of people will get a bad attitude, and that'll affect their effort moving forward. But if you say, okay, all right, made a mistake.
It's your mindset.
It's going to happen. Let me keep a positive attitude because I know where I'm trying to get to. Let me learn from this instead of fail from this, then, and continually put in that effort, well, then you're going to be better off in the long run, and you'll get to your goals a lot faster.
It's a mindset shift for sure.
I
fully, in my life experiences, have learned that like I don't have control over like anything other than myself, right? Like I dictate the amount of stuff that's going to get done. Like, I dictate like if that's going to like work out,
right?
Because of the effort I put in. Now, God always has His own plan, and that might rear your plans, absolutely.
Right.
But like, your effort still does matter,
Oh yeah.
And so like, just turning your mindset, like you said, like not just yeah, I made a mistake, but how can I learn from this mistake? And versus looking at it, said like, oh, I made a mistake, and now I'm horrible, and like I always knew that I sucked. Like, no, like
that woe is me
it
will kill you.
Will kill you. You know, like, no, you made a mistake. Now get back up and do it again. Like, you know, like.
Right. Yeah. And any successful person will tell you that they had to fail before they succeeded, and they had to fail a lot. And a lot of them will tell you that they still fail a lot. And we generally only know them as being successful in one or two or just a handful of fields. And so we prop them up as these icons and these beacons of light, but they're only beacons of light generally in a small aspect of what life actually is. And so that just goes to say that you kind of just got to continually, go through the process of finding out what your niche is, so to speak, of whatever field that you're in. And so it's like, I'm in content creation. Sometimes we talk about relationships, sometimes we talk about this. And then we're kind of putting out these lines to see, okay, what are we best at talking about and what resonates with the people to whom we're talking to. And then when we find that intersection, well then, okay, that's the sweet spot. Now we've, learned from our efforts. Now some videos get like 3 views, some videos get thousands of views. It's
just a part of the process.
Yeah, it's about the process and learning from the data that you're collecting.
Absolutely.
As well. So yeah, so let's get into this. So you've already mentioned that you're
Is it like an
anesthesiology assistant student.
Yes.
So tell us how that is. Let's go back. Tell us how you even got to the point where you're like, yeah, I think I want to pursue this, because I
was on a whole different path.
You graduated, and you were on a different path, and then you were like, oh, let me go try this thing, and now you're in Tampa. So take us through how that happened.
That's a long process. Okay, so I graduated in 2019 from Kansas State University with my degree in biochemistry. And I, at one point, throughout the majority of my undergraduate, career, I was pursuing a medical school, full throttle. That was my plan. And then by the time I became a senior in undergrad, I was just like, no. I was just like, no.
Just like, nah.
No.
Thou art loose, you woman.
Absolutely not. I was tired. I had sacrificed so much, within those 4 years of undergrad, and I just, to do it again for another 4 years of medical school and then residency, it just wasn't, for me. I knew I was fully capable as far as, I knew I was smart enough. It was no doubt in my mind I can, do it book-wise, but, I just didn't want to do it. So I graduated, and I stayed in Atlanta for a little bit, and I ended up coming back home, and I was going to pursue a PA track. And so, I started working in the ER in Navicent Health. I was a level 1 trauma tech, which came with its own obstacles and its own experiences. I think that's a whole nother topic question. But I was working there, and I was shadowing different PAs as I was also working. So I'm working, but I'm finding different ways to shadow PAs and stuff like that to get more experience and stuff. And as I was shadowing one of the PAs, it was at a pain center, and this pain center was attached to a surgery center. And she was like, okay, hey, the anesthesiologist is doing a surgery, you should go in there. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went in there, and I never forget, there was a CRNA named Tom. And Tom was he was asking about my background, what I do. And I was like, yeah, my degree, I work in an ER, all that jazz. And he was like, you should apply to AA school. And I was like, I'm not no alcoholic. What you trying to say? I legit thought he was... You're going to get an AA meeting? Yeah, I thought he was coming for me. I was like, I'm not an alcoholic. What do you mean? And then he was like, no. And he started to explain it. And I still didn't fully understand, what he was talking about. So then as I was leaving, the anesthesiologist also pulled me to the side. And he was like, hey, I know you're set on PA school. I know that's the path you plan on going to. And I was about to submit my application to PA school. And within the next week, I was submitting my application. I had all my recommendations. I had my paper was written, my scores. I was about to submit, And so he was like, but I just think that you would really like the field of anesthesia and that AA was more of your path. Still not knowing what this was. Okay. So I go back to the hospital the next day.
Well, real quick, did you know Tom? Was this like your first encounter with him?
Yes.
See, that's kind of wild that he was like, he assessed you that quickly to where he was like, nah, that's not the path for you.
Yeah, like he literally like just assessed me. Like I told him like the basic information of like my academic background and that I'm where I'm working at right now. And he just, nope, but AA school. And he's the first one to drop that bug. And then anesthesiologist was the second one. And then I go back to the hospital the next day and I'm talking to one of my nurses about PA school. And I'm talking to her about PA school. She goes, you should probably AA school.
That's wild.
And I was like, and this is like within like back-to-back days. Like I went back to work the next day and she said that. And I was like, you the third person in 2 days to say this. And I have never heard this field ever before in my life. So what are you talking about right now? Right? So I go online and I start like doing research and like trying to understand like what is AA, right? Like what is this, right? And I'm gonna fully explain what it is once I finish this whole story part, and then I'll fully explain what it is. And so I did my research, started learning about what it was and how like okay, like we are anesthesia providers, but we are under the leadership of a physician. We manage the care of patients as they're under anesthesia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the OR was right above the ER at Navicent. So I went back to work, went up to the OR, found like the head nurse in charge. And I was like, hey, like I have a badge that'll get me to any area of this hospital. Like, can I just come in and shadow you? And we'll shadow anyone that,
right.
Whether it be an AA or CRNA or the anesthesiologist himself or herself, can I just shadow, right? And she was like, yeah, sure. So I came in, started shadowing, and I was just like in awe, like, to Evie, child. I was like in awe. Like I was like, the fact that like we're putting, like you were in complete control of somebody, you're putting somebody under to sleep, like managing their airway, managing their vitals the whole entire time, and then emerging them from their sleep. Like I was like, this is fascinating. This is like
that
cool.
is yeah.
Like it was so cool. And even though at the time I didn't understand any of the machinery that was going into it, I didn't understand any of the drugs or the gas or anything, I was just like, this is neat, right? This is really cool. So I kept going back, kept shadowing, and then eventually I just like looked up all the requirements that I needed. I already had majority of them, but I had to like start from like, I had to go and read network because I didn't have any recommendations.
Right.
From somebody in anesthesia.
Yeah, exactly.
I had everything for PA. I knew nobody in anesthesia, right? So I had to like hit the ground running, make phone calls, keep shadowing, like asking people, and I like within, let's say, I found out April or May, and by October, November, I had made enough like connections and everything to submit. Like when I say like enough connections, like I drove down to Tampa and was like, hi, hey, this is me.
Yes.
Community school.
How did these conversations go? Because obviously you had already established a network for the PA route.
Yeah.
But now you're trying to quickly establish a network to go to AA school.
Yeah.
And how did these conversations go? Like, were you like, hey, I'm Natalie, help me out? Or
it was more of like, I came with my resume. Like I'm gonna say this like most humble. I'm very thankful and grateful to have, for God to have blessed me with the grades and the experience that I have, right? I worked really, really hard in undergrad. Like I came out with an amazing GPA, and then working at Level 1 Trauma Center is, that's
not for the faint of heart.
That's not for the faint of heart,
Yeah.
So like that puts a boost on your resume. I did research. I was in charge of multiple organizations, and so like I just came with my resume, and I just came in and said like, this is what I've done. This is what I've done. And so just from a conversation that they had with me, they was just like, they were impressed, and they was like, you speak well for yourself, you're very respectable, like X, Y, and Z, very nice young girl. And so they were more than willing to like give me the opportunity if I had to just put myself out there and not be afraid to make that phone call, not be afraid to get in somebody's face and like say like, hey, like I'm here, like I'm just looking for that one opportunity. If you're gonna give it, you're gonna be the one to give it to me.
Yes.
And so it was really a lot of this and that, like networking, calling people, emailing people, being okay with the no, doing it again. And I just managed to get like, those 3 recommendations that I needed. I drove down to Tampa, met the staff at the school I'm currently at, and just kept in touch, sent emails, set up Zoom calls, like so they can see where I was at with my application process, and like keep them up to date. Took my GRE multiple times to get my score higher because Lord knows it wasn't the best. And I just put myself out there. Networking is like, it's challenging, but you got to just keep doing it.
Really? Yeah. It's almost like trying to maintain a friendship with somebody who's not your friend, essentially, or not necessarily going to reciprocate the same effort as a friend normally would.
Yeah.
Now, obviously when you're networking, you'll network with your friends. But in this case, these are people that are going about their professional lives.
Yeah.
It's not like they're going
them at all.
Yeah, they're not gonna. They're not running into you every day. Like you're seeking them out, and so the fact that you maintained the process of like, hey, like, it's me again. Like, just wanted to keep you up to date. I think that spoke volumes, and paired with the fact that you do speak well for yourself, I think they were like, okay, like she's got a good resume. She seems like she really wants this.
Yeah.
Let's give her the opportunity. Because a lot of times people will miss out on opportunities just because they don't ask a question.
Absolutely.
Or they just don't put themselves out like you did. Or if they hear one no, they're like, oh, that's the end of it.
They feel defeated.
It's like, no, that's only the beginning. Because all you need is that one yes, or that
one yes.
The minimum amount of yeses it is to meet your requirements. So.
But to also know that even after you get those yeses and you have people that like give you that support, the job isn't done, because now like you can't put their name in vain. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right,
you can't discredit what they just they stuck their neck out for you. Yeah. You have to live up to like what they just said about you.
Yeah, you got to deliver on what you said you would.
And so like that's also something I like make sure I'm intentional about and pride myself on, is like, if you stick your neck out for me, I promise you I'm gonna make sure you don't regret that. You know? And so I think, and that's how I just continue to cultivate my relationships with the connections that I've made, because they knew that like, okay, like, oh, like she did what she said she was gonna do. Okay, like, yeah, like, so
let me help you. Yeah,
let me help you.
Let me give
more.
you some resources. Yeah.
So all in all, I can just explain what AA is. AAs, we are mid-level providers that provide anesthesia. We go through a 27-month-long program, and for a fully accredited program, you take your boards, essentially like your exams. The first year is a didactic year where you're just in your teaching gear, and the second year you're in full clinicals, so you're doing different rotations, in different states to get more hours and experience with anesthesia. We believe in the teamwork model of anesthesia care. So we are under the physician. We don't believe in full autonomy and trying to, X out the anesthesiologist. It's not the case. Like, we believe in a team.
Okay, I got you. So y'all are all working in tandem.
In tandem.
Okay, got you.
So you might have like one anesthesiologist to like 3 mid-level anesthesia providers, or like 1 to 4, something like that, right? But we believe in that like teamwork model. We believe that it takes everyone working together to care for these patients, and so people they compare us to CRNA. CRNA is an amazing field. I know they have AAs, CRNAs have their quorums, but CRNA is also an amazing field. As far as I guess like level, we're on the same level. We get paid the same. In certain situations, CRNAs can work on their own if they choose to, and that's their profession. I'm not going to speak on that, but we're mid-level providers that provide anesthesia care, like a perioperative approach to anesthesia, and it's an amazing field. Like, I'm very excited that I went down the anesthesia route. I feel like going into it, even after like I did my research and starting my program, like, is when I realized, oh, you really know nothing. Like, you think you know stuff, and you do your research, like, okay, like I have an idea of this, and you're like, oh, I knew nothing.
Oh, yeah, you're just going down all of the different channels.
It took me like a couple of months just to like understand what like amnesia really meant. Like, amnesia and like sedation and like, like, you might think, oh, these are just like general terms. Like, no, I had to like continuously like read different definitions to differentiate with like what certain things like were.
To try to make all the connections to
Yeah.
actually conceptualize the full framework of it.
Exactly. You know, like somebody can be sedated, but they can still be conscious enough to understand what you're saying. Like they don't have full amnesia. You know,
Yeah,
like
so they're kind of out of it, but they're not.
exactly.
It's almost like
You
their
know, the last
subconscious
thing-
is speaking. in a
Like
sense.
well, I don't say the last thing to go is your hearing, right? Like when you want an anesthesia, like last thing to go is your hearing. So yeah, you might have sedated that patient, but they probably still hear you. You know?
Yeah.
So we're not gonna get into the full science.
No,
of
that
it
is
at all,
kind
but,
of funny because I don't remember. So I have this little scar. I'm not sure if the camera can pick it up. But when I was in high school, I was sliding into a base, and long story short, tore this ligament, just detached, snapped it in half, kind of fractured my thumb a little bit. So I had to get hand surgery to repair the ligament, and my mom. So I was put under essentially, and my mom said that when I woke up, I was like, "Hey, where's the doctor? I gotta thank him. And I was like, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
And they were like talking to me, and I was like, I guess talking back, and I was
Yeah.
like, I don't remember any of that.
No, you're not gonna
And so I
remember.
guess I could hear,
Yeah.
but as I was coming to, but I couldn't like.
And some people do have recollection. Like it just varies. Like
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna get to the full science, but some people do have recollection of like what happens. It kind of just varies. Everyone's body is different. That's why like when they refer to a MAC, that's just like what impacts like 50% of the population. I'm not gonna get to the science because it's gonna be really confusing. But the point is, everyone is different. Some people might actually have recollection to a certain extent of like what they
so
happened or
every
what they
case
heard.
is so
Everyone's body's different.
it's like individualized.
Yeah.
But you still have these overarching themes that you can apply to different situations.
Like this can apply to 50% of the population. Like
Right.
everyone's different, but majority of the times this applies.
Yeah, that does muddy the waters for
Yeah.
as far as like what you need to know to be most effective at your job.
Exactly. That's why like you need to know everything for anesthesia because like 99% of the time, because we're talking about like the general population, 50%, 9% of the time, everything you're just coasting like with the anesthesia. But then that 1% where like stuff hits the fan, and you better know how to respond to it. Like you better know the different systems and everything to know how, like what's happening and why
Right.
and how to respond to this, right? But 9 times out of 10, like everyone you coasting until you're not.
Like it's pretty like a simple job, but then curveball.
Curveball. But you
gotta-
need to be knowledgeable of how to handle that curveball.
Right.
You know, so it's like, yeah. But yeah, like I said, I'm in the beginning of it. I've only had 2 semesters down. I'm still learning. I still don't even fully understand anesthesia. Like, but it's like, that's another reason why I like it, because it's such a vast, like very complicated field. It's very rewarding, you know? So like I said, I'm only in my 3rd semester. I could say I don't know nothing.
How many more semesters do you have?
So 27 months in total. So 27 months in total. I started in June. So what are we at? We in December? How many months is
That's our
that?
6.
6 months.
Yeah.
And so like 21 months left. But so like 3 semesters after that.
Okay.
You
That's
know?
not-
But second year
not
is
too bad.
clinical. So like clinical
So you're
rotations.
not as like in the grueling. You're in more practical, real life situations.
Yeah,
with the
well, in
clinicals.
clinical, like for clinical, which starts in August for me, and that's when like every month, every 2 months, like you go on rotations. You go on rotations to like a different city or a different state, X, Y, and Z. Every month, every 2 months.
That's cool.
You know, and so you're not taking any classes. You're literally just like in the field, like honing your craft and getting more experience of like
Gotcha.
putting people under induction and emergence and X, Y, and Z, and maintaining them during surgery, stuff like that. So it's like,
Got it.
you know, I'm at the surface of the surface, like I said, I still don't understand anesthesia. You know, but it's an amazing field. Like, and for me, I like the fact of being a mid-level provider and not being the sole person that's responsible. You know, like
Okay.
I like having my anesthesiologist above me and going to him like, you know, here's my question, like,
Yes.
what do I do now? Like, you know, like I want to be the point where like, I'm very knowledgeable in my field and I know what I'm doing, but I have that person where I can go to and say, hey, like
Like you have that team that can help you. I mean, just in case you're, slightly not as sharp on that day.
You know,
or
like-
just missing something. Like we're all humans. There's I've mentioned this before on the podcast. There's this great book called Wisdom of the Crowds, which essentially the concept is that when we are in greater numbers, we're actually smarter as a group than one individual person.
Yeah.
So if you have one genius, but then you have, 4 average IQ people, they'll probably come up with a better solution to a problem because they're able to see things from multiple different perspectives, and they all have a different strengths in the knowledge that they're bringing to that specific problem that's trying to be solved. And so it's like this wisdom of the crowds type model that you're going to be living out in your practice. So
that's a good comparison. Yeah. And I think I just want to, like, for people that don't know what AA is, just kind of fully just finish off comparing it to CRNA with the differences. CRNAs, they're registered nurses first. They went through nursing school, and then I think they go through either a year or 2 of ICU training, and then they go to CRNA school, which is 3 years. Versus me, I had my degree in biochemistry, so I did my 4-year degree, and then I got whatever other qualifications that I needed to qualify for AA school, which is 27 months. So a shorter schooling time versus like 3 years for them, 27 months for us, but our curriculum is very comparable. Like, we're learning the same things with our curriculum-wise. And we come out roughly with the same, like, experience hours of anesthesia. Because, like, I don't fully know how their curriculum is, but as far as hours-wise, experience for anesthesia, we come out roughly the same, like, hours-wise, and then you go off into your field. And it's just that they can, in certain situations, work with full autonomy.
Like solo
versus AAs. We will always be under the anesthesiologist and in a, team model, which we're okay with. They feel we're perfectly fine with that.
Nice. So Kenya had a comment. She said it was the Lord. She was referring to how, like, all the connections with, this person recommending, hey, try AA school. And I thought it was interesting that it was 3 people because God often works in 3s. Even when he was telling, Peter that you're going to deny me, he was like, you're going to deny me 3 times before the rooster crows. Yeah. And then you have, Abraham. Wait, was it Abraham? No, Noah had 3 sons. Like, there's just all these different. I actually saw a video about, like, all the themes of 3 in the Bible, and it's very interesting to see the long line. So you can see how God works in 3s, and then I believe the triangle's like kind of like God's shape, and so like you'll see often like the pyramids. You'll see often they're built out of smaller triangles and stuff like that. So it's just very interesting how like everything works.
Yeah, like you said, it's even the number 3 like. That is like my dad's like number. Like, every time God works his magic or his hands in our lives,
you can see it.
You can see it in 3s for my dad and 8 for me. You know, and so he definitely came and just redirected my path. Because it was just crazy how it all worked out. Like, I was really going to submit my application to PA school like within a week.
Wow.
And God was just like, nope.
Oh, I got a better plan for you.
I have a better plan for you. And, and he shows me time and time again, me being down there in Tampa, like moving to a whole different state by myself, starting this program, like this intense program, realizing that like I know nothing. That's like, like, I still don't know anything, and it's been 2 semesters,
Right, yeah.
And so like, he's just been showing me like why he put me here, and he works in a serious way. And I think he also knew I couldn't be bedside for my whole entire life for medicine. I think he knows me as a person.
So he was like, hey, let me put this
because
opportunity in front of her.
Exactly.
You just gotta take the.
Because at some point, I get to a point where I'm like, stop talking to me. Like, at some point, like. Yeah. I care for my patients, and I care for people, and I'm a giver. But at some point, I'm like,
you're just like,
stop talking.
You're just socially drained to the point where you're like, I can't do this.
Yeah. And Stephen's like, go to sleep.
Wake up. Yeah. No, I get it. All right, Jack is in the building. Shout out to Jack. Hope you are doing well, my man. I was texting him yesterday, wished him a Merry Christmas. So. Hope you're having a good holiday,
Merry Christmas.
Jack, and you're recovering well from your injury. And shout out to T-Mac, Miss Tarver Max in the house. Good morning, Quality. Happy holidays. Yes, hey, we are using your coasters. So
We are using your coaster. They look so
thank you
good.
for the wonderful gift.
Yes,
She
yes,
got
yes.
some coasters. She gave me a frame with it was a picture of like right after Kenya and I got engaged, and she's like holding the ring. So
Yeah.
that was really cool. It's in my room right now. So shout out to all the quality people joining us. We're talking with Miss Natalie Harris about her schooling,
What
AA
it's
school.
like in an AA school. I feel like I haven't even fully touched on like the program yet.
Yeah. Well, let's before we even get more into the program, talk about how. So you've gone off to college, so you've been kind of on your own before.
Yeah.
But when you were at college, you were in state. You probably
Yeah.
knew a lot of people. A lot of people go to Kennesaw State.
Yeah.
I know you connected with Kenya at Kennesaw State.
Absolutely.
As well. And so you were around more familiar people.
For sure.
Now you're going to a different state, to a
Yes.
town where you know nobody.
Yes.
How is that transition?
Oh my gosh. I don't even fully know how I like even made this shift. It was like a whole reset for me. Like my first time I had my own apartment, right? Like even when I was in college, you had roommates, right? And so it's like, yeah, in the townhouse we had our own individual rooms, but just those people that you were living with, you know? And so like it's the first time me truly living on my own with like nobody there. I'm in a whole new state, so when something happens, I can't just like call somebody and say, hey, like, can you come help me with this?
Yeah,
X,
come
Y,
on down
and
the
Z.
road, yeah.
You can't do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I have an uncle that's down there, but you know, he doesn't have a vehicle, right? So I couldn't just call him like, hey, can you do this? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have a vehicle, right? And so then having a whole new cohort of people, of like students who you have to like get to know, and like you're also navigating like how to present yourself in this new space, right? And you're questioning all your actions because it's just like you're in a new city, new environment, new people, and it's like, how am I going to choose to show up in this new space? You know,
Like, yeah, what part of myself do I want to present to?
exactly. What part of myself do I want to
Yeah.
present in this space? You know, and like, and that's not to say, oh, you want to, you know, show a facade or anything like that. Like,
Right.
it's just to say, like, you know.
But I mean, your relationship with your dad is going to be, and what you give to your dad is going to be different from even what you give to me.
Exactly.
And we've known each other a very
For
long
years.
time versus what you give to a stranger.
Exactly.
And now you're in
you
a
know?
completely new town, going to school into a
Yes.
completely
New
field
environment, you
that
know,
you
new
have
field, no understanding of,
yeah.
you know. So like,
Yeah.
it came with so many like adjustment periods, like of like trial and error, making mistakes, like doing something or saying something, be like, why did you say that? Like, you know, like
yeah.
and questioning yourself, or like a whole lot of doubt, imposter syndrome. Like I feel like I knew about imposter syndrome. I don't think I went through it that much in undergrad, but in this program, like I have gone through imposter syndrome so much. Like I have questioned like if I was even smart enough, if I was good enough, if I was even worthy of being in this program, if I was capable of like, you know, making it down here. Like it's one thing like when I was in Georgia my whole entire life, I knew how to thrive, you know?
Right, yeah.
Now I gotta go to a whole nother state and try to keep that same stamina of like trying to thrive, you know? And at some point it felt like I was just getting like knocked down, like maybe cornered,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, because, yeah, in Georgia, you have a lot of support.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like, if something happens, if you stumble, it's like, oh, somebody's there to kind of just catch you.
Yeah.
But when you're, you know, completely alone, that fall hurts just a little bit worse.
It's a little bit
you're
worse, you know?
I'm not sure if I want to get back up from this,
Exactly.
you know?
So, you know, it came
Yeah.
with a lot of just like mentally having to talk myself through things or through my emotions of like, and on top of that, like I realized I didn't grieve before, you know, like when I moved, that's when like the signs really hit. And I really realized that like I didn't grieve anything. Like I just pushed all my losses like under the rug and just like threw myself into work, threw myself in taking care of like my dad or my nieces and nephew or my sister, just being a helping hand.
Just being
like,
there,
just
being the
there,
support,
being
but
the
nobody was
support.
there to...
Exactly. No one was there to support me. And then like when I left, all my emotions that I just tucked away about like my losses, like my losing my dad's, my mom's, my gram, and losing my mom, like losing, you know, my aunt, like all the losses, I just didn't realize I did not even like.
Yeah, you didn't have time to cope with them, because I mean they happen fast.
They happen fast, you
like
know,
real fast,
like out of nowhere, like out of the blue, like it's like snatched out of your life, you know, and it's like. When it happened, I was too afraid to address it, so I just went into something else. So then moving to Florida, that's when being alone, having no friends, no family, just a silence, is when I really had to like reassess. You know, like to the point, like first semester of my program, I was in the emergency room like in June because my chest pain was hurting, so I was hurting bad. My chest was killing me.
You were just panic.
Like palpitations, chest was hurting. My cousin had just died. Like my first week of school, like before my first day of school, I had a test, right? Like first day, like literally, like you come in, they're like, here's a test.
Yeah, that's wild.
Right? It was
That's crazy.
I was like, what are you doing, right? So I had a test, and the next day after my test, I get a text from my aunt. It was like a group message. She didn't know that I didn't know that my cousin had passed away.
Wow.
You know, and so I read it, and I'm like, read down, and I see, like, you know, Isaiah passed away. I called my other cousin, and I was like, what's she talking about? Like, what do you mean? And this is the cousin that lives down in Florida, like in St. Pete, like 20 minutes from me, right? Who I was very excited to spend more time with moving down there, right? So I called my cousin. She was like, oh, like your dad didn't tell you. And I was like, y'all about to piss me off. Like what's happening?
Yeah.
You know, like what's happening? And so that's when I was told that he was having chest pain. He was gonna go do DoorDash. His girlfriend was saying, no, let's just like, you know, take a nap. I don't want you leaving, which, you know, I'm glad he didn't leave. I want you leaving, take a nap. They took a nap. When she woke up, he was unresponsive. He was 28.
That's just unbelievable.
Unbelievable, right? He was 28. And like this is cousin that like we raised like siblings, like lived with us at one point in time. Like that was a big hit, you know? So it was like, I already realized I didn't grieve. Losing my cousin, and I'm just getting down to Florida by myself, right?
Right,
So,
yeah. And so like it's kind of crazy because in one aspect it's like, okay, it's a new city, I can start fresh and with a clean slate. But then on the other side, it's like everything from where I came from is just becoming darker in a sense. Yeah.
It was like navigating that dark battle first and coming out of that first, you know. But looking back, it's like, wow, like now you're really strong. Like, you know, looking back is like what I went through that first semester, what I went through second semester, like with another loss, you know, and still being out there in Florida by myself. And then, like, you know, losing my nana, losing my last grandmother, being by myself, it was like I was sitting in my room, and like all my family, like, you know, they're in Georgia. Uncle, you know, he's 30 minutes away, but in the vehicle, so I gotta go to him. But I have class in my yards, and so it's just like you're sitting there, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
Like you get to a point where you're like, wow, this is too much.
Yes.
Because like you're just doing all these different things, and you're not even realizing that you're doing it, and then you get to a point where you kind of just hit your peak.
Yes.
And you're like, wow, this is a lot. This is too much. You just become overwhelmed.
Completely overwhelmed. Yeah. Like I had a full-blown panic attack on the phone. And so I think, and everyone's experience is going to be different when they move to a whole other state and their new environment. Like it just so happens with my experience, I had a lot of compounding additions to it. Like, I moved to a whole other state, new environment, new program, new people. But top of that, now I'm grieving full throttle everything that I tucked away. You know, like everything that I didn't address within myself as an individual is coming to the surface now. Like I see those flaws now. It's like, oh wow, like I now see what so-and-so was saying about me. I get it now. Like, okay, I want to work on that. Like, you know, because you're sitting with those thoughts. You're no longer having things outside to just distract you. Like you're sitting with those thoughts.
Yeah, it's just you and those thoughts. And that can be very challenging for people. Yeah. Even people that haven't been through super traumatic experiences, a lot of people just can't be alone with their own thoughts in general.
It's a scary place to be. Some people would never crawl out of that.
Yeah, and then you compound that with the things that you had to experience.
Yeah.
Well, that oftentimes that can send people, over the edge,
For sure.
which is very unfortunate. But I mean, that's why, mental health is super important.
Yeah.
Your spiritual health is super important.
Absolutely.
Your general health
is very important.
Is the utmost thing in life.
Absolutely.
Not chasing money or financial freedom. Like your health in your relationship with, God, your relationship with
Yourself.
how you treat your body, which goes along with yourself. Those are the two most important things over
Absolutely.
anything else. Because if
Absolutely.
you don't have that down pat, like everything else is going to crumble.
Exactly.
And everything
You
else
have to prioritize.
and everything else is meaningless
Yes.
as well. Because like if you don't have those two things,
You're running on empty. How are you going to pour into anybody else? How are you going to do the work that God has for you to do when you're literally running on empty? You haven't even just cultivated like the house that He's giving you. You know, like
you have nothing to give.
you have nothing to give.
Yeah.
And I definitely realized that like being away, even though you're away, you're still handling family situations. Like I'm away, but I'm still getting those phone calls, and like being that mediator.
And you're also not there.
I'm not there, right?
So like not only are you having to grieve alone, but you're also not able to be with your family.
Yeah.
And you're naturally a person that wants to be there and support. You're not able to even do
Exactly.
A gift that God has given you to do.
So like you're trying to handle things in a whole other state. Like you're calling me for something that's I'm not there. You're calling me about it, and I'm over trying to figure out my own self.
Yeah.
So it definitely this past 6 months of being away has just taught me a lot. Definitely been through a lot, and but it also showed that like I'm way stronger than I ever thought I was. Like don't get me wrong, I'm still emotional. Don't get me wrong, I'm still emotional. But the Nat back then who thought that like she couldn't make it through things or just gonna crumble, I proved myself wrong. I shocked myself how I respond to things. Like the way I just react and just like go do it. I still shock myself.
But yeah, it's a beautiful testimony too, because a lot of people, I mean, it could be used in two different ways, right? So when you grow up and like you have kids or you're a mentor to other young ladies, I mean, it could play out two different ways. You can say, oh, I went through all of this, you'll be fine. And you can kind of use it in a callous way, or you can use it as a testimony to be like, hey, look, I went through some crazy things. I know you're going through some crazy things. Or maybe they're not even going through some crazy things. Maybe they just need a perspective shift.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, like everything's not as bad as it could be.
Yeah.
But the understanding that you're always stronger than you think.
Absolutely.
Is
because I refuse to use it in a callous way. I refuse to be that person to where, because of what I've been through, I now discount others' experiences. I don't.
Yeah.
That's not okay. Because like what you deem is at the end of the world, it might be for you, right? Because it's the experiences you've had, right? I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, because I've been through far worse, your experiences don't matter. Like no, like I choose instead to take my experience, and if I feel like God's telling me to share my testimony of like, this is what I've been through, this is what I will come for the benefit of that person to see a different perspective, like you said, then I'll share it. And I've done that. I've told my full story, and people will be shocked because they're like,
how are you still here?
Yeah, like people will like look at me like, if you didn't tell me that, I would never have known. Like they'd be like, you carry it very well, and I'm like, I only carry it well because at the end of the day, despite the traumatic things that I had to go through, things that I've seen, but God is like the things He has blessed me with is like, I'm just grateful. I'm extremely blessed despite what I have seen and what I've gone through. Like I'm grateful. Those things hurt. I'm never gonna get over any of it ever.
Right.
I'm scarred. You know what I'm saying? Like I was diagnosed with anxiety last year. I was diagnosed with PTSD over the summer. I'm scarred, but like I just know that He's not done with me yet, though. Like that happened, but you're not done with me yet.
You still got to march forward.
You know what I'm saying? That's not march forward. You're not done with me yet. Like this, you have something for me that is never going to make what happened easier and better. But this is something there for me, And so I try to touch with people at times, and I don't even do it for myself. I just do it so that in hopes that if I share this, your mindset will shift and you can determine to keep going. You know what I'm saying? You redirect and say, okay, you know what? Like I can't do this. I can't keep going. You know, I never want to put it in a malice sense of like discrediting anybody's experiences.
No, yeah, that's beautiful. And I like how you said you don't allow the labels to define you. Yeah. And what I mean by that is you said you were diagnosed with PTSD, diagnosed with anxiety. And a lot of people will use that as an excuse to lash out or act out or be less of the person that they're called to be. Absolutely. But you're like, yeah, these things are part of my experience, these things that I have to deal with, but I'm still marching forward in the best way that I can. I'm still trying to be the salt of the earth. I'm still trying to be a beacon of light. Absolutely. Which a lot of people, when they let the label define them and say, oh, but I have anxiety, so you have to give me a pass on this. And you're like, no, I'm not giving myself a pass on, not being the best person that I could be, not adhering to, the things that God wants me to be. Yeah. He wants me to be, focus on things that are good, that are pure. He wants me to be loving, kind, and caring. When it would be easy,
it'd be so easy
for you to just go around hating the world, go around with a bitter attitude. Absolutely. I mean, even with the support system that you have, because you have a lot of people around you that love you, but it would still be easy to just be like, nah, like, I'm tapped out. I'm just gonna hate the world.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't realize sometimes, like, you have people surrounding you, but you can still feel so very alone. Oh, and you have people around you. You can have people like that are right there to say, oh, I got you, but like you feel so very alone because they don't really hear you or understand you, and they also don't want to. Like, people want to hear what they want to hear to make themselves feel better and feel, justified for like their attempt to like be there. You know? So, like,
or they try to tell you what you should do. Because
how you should
it kind of feeds into their own ego.
Exactly.
Yeah. Instead of genuinely trying to help. Yeah.
Exactly. So like you said, going back to how you said I could use like things that I was diagnosed with as like a cop-out and just like, as an excuse, because I don't and I choose to continue pushing forward, like knowing, okay, yes, I deal with these things, but like I'm strong enough to continue going forward. The catch is because I choose to push through, when there's times when I am struggling, I am weak, and I need help, they don't believe me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you've done it before, you're fine. Yeah, you'll get through it. Yeah. You're fine. And I'm like, no, like I need help.
Yeah. It's like when you ask for help, it's like, no, like I need it now.
Yeah, I need it now, which led to Evie, right? Which led to my cat. Like I ain't never want a cat in my life. Like, it's a dog person. Like,
yeah. I was surprised when you were like, hey, I have a cat, a little kitten. I was like,
I was shocked.
Like that. I was like, okay.
I was shocked, but it got to a point where I was just like, I needed help, like in any form, and I need help in any form, and she's been like a blessing. Like, honestly, people think that cats aren't like, like cuddly.
No, cats are so cool. One, they clean themselves.
They do clean themselves. Thank God.
Two, their owners, even some cats are very sociable. Like my cat's very sociable. Your cat seems to be very sociable too. Well, she's a demon spot. she just doesn't like girl cats. Right? I don't think she'll have the problem with Kenya's cat. And if she does, well,
what you gonna do? What y'all gonna do?
I mean,
she made the choice for you.
I don't know. So,
do you have a girl or a boy?
She has a boy.
Okay, she might be okay with it.
I think she'll be fine with a boy because she was also raised around dogs too. Okay. Like a lot of dogs. So I'm not sure. Sonic's a different cat. She's unlike any other cat that I've ever.
She got some serious fangs. Her teeth popped out.
Oh yeah.
I was scared. Okay.
She's no joke.
She's no joke. But yeah, like that's led to Evie. Like I just being down there by myself, I knew I could need a dog. They're too dependent. I about to go into clinical, so that's like 12-hour shifts on top of like classes and schoolwork and stuff. And I was seeing a therapist. It got expensive because school insurance is trash. Just really not having nobody down there, and sometimes just like having somebody physically present or some being physically present, it just makes a difference. you know, like just say that ounce of just not feeling alone. Like that was something I navigated a lot, was just like being down there. I felt so alone, right? And yeah, you have your cohort, but they're also going through their own things as well.
Right.
So they can't focus on like
You. Yeah.
Like they're married
Yeah.
or have kids or like families and you know, like their own stuff they're going through, right? And on top of that, like my classmates, they're great, but it is hard when you're like, it's only like, what's it, it's like three black girls in my program, and it's like there's like 37, 38 of us. Everyone else is like, you know, and so that is something to navigate too, right? Because I'm from Georgia, okay?
Yeah, there's black people everywhere.
You know what I'm saying? I'm from Georgia, but the way we navigate in Georgia
It's
is
a lot different.
Different than how they navigate down there, right? So it was like navigating that space of like...
Yeah, it's a little bit of a culture shock, I guess.
It's a culture shock,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like I'll say something and they're like, huh? And I'm like, never mind. You know?
Yeah, like even your dialect has to change.
My dialect has to
like,
change.
Oh, y'all don't say that here? Like,
exactly.
y'all don't know what that means? Yeah, no,
exactly.
I understand. Yeah.
You know, even I had a professor. He's so cool. Something happened, and I was like, I'm from Georgia. He was like, oh, that makes sense. And I was like, yeah.
No, it's
like,
funny. It is really funny because my cousins from the Northeast got in town yesterday, and I mean, every time they come in town, we always have a good time.
Yeah.
But it's funny because we'll say they think I'm country, but everybody here doesn't think I'm from here.
Yeah. Oh my
because of
gosh.
the way I talk.
No one thinks we're from here.
Yeah, because and in fairness, like your dad raised in Northeast, my mom raised in Northeast, and my dad was raised in Cali.
Yeah.
And so our immediate roots and the way we were brought up aren't really planted here, right?
Yeah.
Now we'll have, of course, direct influence because we're around people who our country is corn.
Yeah,
but we ourselves are country is corn.
Not, yeah.
But yeah, it's super interesting because even though we don't talk necessarily like, you know, Southerners.
Yeah, we don't.
We still we communicate like the Southerners because the dialect has been embedded into us our whole lives. And so when we go, you know, off to different places, like, oh, you're from Georgia. You sound like you're from Georgia, but you don't sound like you're from Georgia. So it's like, super interesting how that can work.
But yes, but they think down there that I sound country.
That's what I was about to say, because my cousins think I sound country.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you don't know.
You don't
like,
know country.
You want to go to the buffet
you
real
want
quick?
To stick to it? Like, you don't know what country really is, you know?
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
Like, they say it to me, but then also, like, even being down there, some people will think I'm from up north, you know? So it's like, some people will say country. Like, okay, Georgia, I can see it. But some people will think, like, okay, you know, you're from somewhere up north, you know? And so it kind of just varies, but mainly when I'm down there, people like, oh, I love your country accent. And I'm like, I got a country accent? Like, I got a country accent for real?
Yeah.
Like, okay, because being in Georgia, people always, oh, where are you from? And I tell them, and I'm like,
I've been here my whole life.
Exactly.
Bro.
They're like, no, you're
about?
not. And I'm like,
yeah, it's funny when they try to tell you that you're not from there, and I'm like, oh, I was born.
I was born at
over there.
Houston Medical.
There.
Like, I was born at Houston Medical.
Yeah, no, it is crazy how people are like, nah, like you're playing with me. It's like, no, you're playing with me.
yourself.
Yeah.
No, seriously. So like, you know, just navigating all that and just, you know, you get through it though. But very grateful. But it's been an experience for sure. People say that moving away from your family will probably be the hardest but best thing you ever done. Mm-hmm. It has for sure been the hardest but best thing I've ever done, because that self-reliance. I was already very self-reliant, but it just now went even deeper. Like,
yeah, now you're like, I can handle my business in any situation. With confidence, even if I haven't faced that situation before.
Absolutely. So
no, that's very good.
That became the challenges for sure.
That's very good. T-Mac came in, says, it's so good to hear this. Keep going forward. A lot of people don't realize what we go through on the inside. Having that good support and good Lord will get us through anything.
Absolutely. Amen. Absolutely.
I like that. Well said, T-Mac. Well said. So, yeah, that was a talk about, you know, school with Natalie.
We didn't even fully talk about school. We talked about everything else.
We did. There was a little section in there. There was a little section about school. But yeah, we're going to continue to move this conversation. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk about, body image and beauty standards and all of that. So stay tuned.
Fight for the algorithm.
Hey guys, welcome to the Conscious Outlet Podcast. We are officially a part of the Quality Entertainment Network, and we are so happy to be here. I'm Miracle Monique.
And I'm Alan J.
And we're here to discuss the intersection of culture, faith, media, so we can inspire some practical solutions to some huge societal challenges that we're facing today. So let's work together to get this done.
Hold on. What is up, quality people? Welcome back to the Quality Entertainment Network. Welcome back to Profitable Conversations. Got my good friend, my sister, Natalie Harris in the house. Make sure that you like for the algorithm, support the platform, subscribe, share, send us a super chat. We do have that ability. So if you like the content that we are creating and you want more and you want us to expand into creating even higher quality content, support us with a super chat. Also, if you have any topics that you would like us to cover or videos you want us to react to, we do have a email link down in the description box. Hit us up there and we could cover it on our next show. Also, before we get into our next topic, we have 769 subscribers.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Some quality people. We're on route to 1,000. So keep sharing this with your friends and family. Our next show is to be determined, but my cousins are in town, so hopefully maybe able to do part 2 with Gabrielle, or even include her sister Sage in one of these conversations. Or maybe I'll get my uncle on the podcast. That would be really interesting content. So Kenya's taking the rest of the year off, so you won't see her till 2024. So I'm going to just be grinding this thing of ours by myself. But just make sure you stay tuned. Keep sharing this with your friends and family. And we definitely appreciate, every like, every share, every super chat that we get. All right, Natalie.
Yes.
So talk about anesthesiology assistant school. Now let's talk about the beauty standards. And the question that I got a question, is, are females losing their souls for vanity? So you can just generally answer that before we, dive deeper into this topic.
Yes, but I think there's nothing new. I think that it was already happening. It's just it just seems like it's exacerbated right now. But that's been a thing. But yeah, absolutely.
Why do you think it's becoming exacerbated? Excuse me.
Just because the reliance that we have on social media and this urge or need to portray everything on social media. Even though we've had social media for a while now, the urge is just increasing of wanting to put everything on display, right? So I think that it's just shown more now, but I feel like before now, you still had the model industry, which was very particular of body image, how women portrayed were physicality wise, right? But now social media and the whole BBL industry or Botox, all that jazz, it's just always it's just in your face all the time.
Yeah,
people were selling it sold before that though.
Yeah, but it seemed like back then it's okay, this model is the beauty standard, and everybody wants to look like the model, or everybody wants to look curvy like their favorite actor, if you will. But in order to do that, they would have to, physically put in the work and mentally put in the work to transform themselves into that. Does that make sense?
Since when?
No, so you would have to go to the gym, is what I'm saying. So if you wanted to, now I'm talking about back in the day, not currently. But
you
now,
feel even back in the day, people had felt like their only route was to go to the gym. There's a show called Botch for a reason.
Well, okay. I'm saying in general, if you wanted that body that you so coveted, right? You were going to, the options were as
Okay.
publicly
okay.
and readily available to you.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Advertised.
So now,
I'm sorry, I can agree with that.
So now a little girl sees, oh, this curvy girl on the screen. It's like, oh, their first thought isn't, hey, maybe I should go work out. Their first thought is, oh, let me go get an injection in my
absolutely.
butt. Let me
Absolutely.
go get,
Hard work is like not a thing anymore.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can agree with that. I definitely agree that like back in the day, people were more geared towards like working hard to get to a certain point, right? Where now it's like the easy way out is just more advertising, like the first choice, like, oh, I want a flatter stomach, I'm gonna get lipo, or whatever case may be, versus.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, it goes along with like the fast food culture and the consumerism bug that is, making its way through the country, or it's really from the start, but as companies are becoming more profitable and chasing more and more profits, they gotta sell more and more things. And so they almost have to, and they're almost incentivized to say like, okay, no, this stuff is good for you because we gotta beat last year's numbers. And so instead of getting, we'll just use a very elementary example, instead of getting 100 girls into injecting their lips, this year we gotta get 150 girls. Next year we gotta get 200 girls, right? Yeah. And so we can't advertise the same because we gotta attract more girls because those girls already got their inject slips. We need new clients.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. And so now we gotta affect these up and coming girls in a different way because the last methods may not work as effectively as,
You're selling vanity though. Like they're selling like the whole like I was just talking to somebody else about this who is actually in anesthesia with me. Who beforehand their path like mine, I wanted to go as a PA to be a derm PA, right? Okay. And she did too, right? Wow. Okay. And so we were talking about that of how like we thought we wanted that, then we started shadowing experience and realizing like this is a very like vain field, like you're outside of the typical mainly derm is just like moles, like skin cancer and moles, right? That's a lot of derm, right? Outside of that, you have the cosmetic side of derm, right? Which is what we wanted to do. Okay. And you're just selling people on this flaw that they have to like they want to correct.
Or they think it's a flaw.
They think it's a flaw, Yeah. So it's just you're selling vanity.
And I think that is the greater sin of it all. Is not that you're able to maybe get these different procedures, but the fact that you're doing it because you think you're somehow flawed in some or lacking and inadequate in some capacity, which also speaks more to the state of like your mindset and your soul. Yeah. Because if you don't think you're good enough for X, then that's really going to damage like your perception of how you see the world, how you see yourself, and so. That's very troubling to go through life like that. And people can, say all they want, oh, I'm doing this for me, and this is going to make me happy, but then it's like, They
never have one procedure. They're chasing, they always find something else to correct, and like they get a high off of that, off of correcting that one thing, and they want to go back and like get that same self like validation again. Right. Like, and that's why me and her chose not to go into that route, because we realized like it might. But also, the reason we think that we wanted to go into it, because during that time, during our era of growing up, YouTube gurus were at its all-time, like, that we were at the peak of, like, the whole, like, cosmetic and, like, hair YouTube guru like, era at the time, when me and her wanted to go into derm, right? Okay. And so that's why we think we were influenced by it, because, like, we were constantly on YouTube, right, about all that stuff. And then now it has started to, like, die down. It's not as, like, high as it was. But once we actually got into it and started shadowing and experiencing it, we realized this is not field for us. Like, we don't even live with this like vain mindset of like
you'd be perpetuating something that you don't necessarily believe.
We don't even believe in. Like, that's not even how I navigate my life. And that's the same thing for her, which is why we didn't go into it. And so like
Wow, no, that's super interesting. Do you think? So how has growing up, your mindset changed on, I guess, your self-image as far as like your body, and how has that changed, especially now that you're developing a relationship with God?
How How was that change? I mean, I used to hate myself. Full throttle hated myself. But I mean that like...
Okay, before you answer that, what part of yourself? Did you hate yourself like in a physical sense or a mental sense? Or?
Both.
Okay.
Both. It was like physical and mental.
Why?
You know? I just lacked complete confidence in who I was